Hey guys, welcome back to Seller Sessions. Today I bring in Michele Venton. How you doing?
Thank you, Danny.
Excellent. Right, Michele, it's been a while. I've been trying to get you on the show for a couple of years now. You're in our mastermind group. And yeah, you do phenomenal things. If I'm right in saying you're on your way to 8 figures, you pretty much run the business from home with a family and stuff like that. And so you're one of the UK's, I believe, one of the UK's biggest success stories in terms of an Amazon seller, like kind of the level you're at. So let's rewind and take it back to the humble beginnings. Where did it all start for you?
Okay, so I had a previous retail business, and I was one of those crazy people that thought, I'm going to start a family, so I'll start a business at the same time because if that makes sense. So I launched a retail business with a baby on my shoulder, and I ran that for a couple of years and decided that, this is harder than I thought it would be. Just overstretched. Overheads on retail businesses were huge. Staff, we had about 30 staff. It was just a beast. So I exited that business and thought, right, okay, let's focus.
When you said exit, did you sell it or did you close it and move it on, or what did you do?
We sold it. I would say we probably broke even on that, but I learned so much. And the biggest lesson I learned from that experience was I loved running my own business. I loved it. But I did not want to do retail, and I did not want to have to deal with staff all the time. Yeah. So I took some time out, and I sort of, thought about what else I could do. And I thought, okay, I'm going to start selling online. So I decided I've always had this dream. I wanted to manufacture my own brand of dresses. I don't know where this came from, but it was always something I wanted to do. So again, with a young family, by then I had my son and my daughter from home. I decided to set up, we used a manufacturer in the East End of London, and we sourced our fabric from all over the world and started to manufacture dresses, and thought, okay, we'll sell these online. Obviously, the biggest challenge for us was getting traffic to your own website with limited e-commerce experience, I have to say. So we thought we'll put them on Amazon. Put the dresses on Amazon, very quickly realized, there's more to this game than I thought. Why are we on page 200? Why can't anybody see our dresses? And it was just a stroke of luck, really, that I was put in touch with another English lady who had previously sold her Amazon business, and she put me onto the ASM guys in America. So I enrolled onto the ASM course, threw myself into it, really recognized this huge potential of selling products on Amazon, did the course, as I say, learned so much. And one of the lessons I very quickly learned was don't do clothing on Amazon, especially not for a new person like me.
All those variations and sizes, small, medium and large, that's the biggest ones you have to deal with. Yeah.
Returns, refunds, all the rest of it. But it was great because I already had products live, so I could go through the ASM course with products already live on Seller Central, so it wasn't completely new to me. But I quickly thought, okay, learned a lot, stop doing the dresses, and let's try with some other products. So that's really how I got involved with it. It was retail to start with, then some online selling, got put onto the ASM course, threw myself into it, learned everything I possibly could, stopped with the dresses, and then started again.
So tell me ASM, what number? 3, 4? Where was it? 2014, 15? When did you start?
Yeah, 2015, ASM 5. So I did the ASM course. I then flew over to Vegas for their live event, met some brilliant people. It motivated me hugely and came back raring to go, and haven't looked back since.
Cool. Sounds good. And so you parked the dresses, basically. You had to go there and you understand the fundamentals of Amazon. We're talking about the gold rush years. So where did the switch come? We won't go into what products, but what category are you in now?
We're now in toys and games. We also straddle a little bit across beauty and a tiny bit of clothing still as well. Mm-hmm. But we focus on children. That's our target market.
Yeah.
And but after ASM, I did the usual. We tried loads of products. We threw things up there. Some of them we had some good success with, others flopped. But I spent the first year just learning my craft, basically, learning what works on Amazon, what doesn't. And then, as you say, what was my moment of clarity? I would say I got really fed up of just selling random stuff from China on Amazon. It didn't spark anything in me. I've always had the desire to create a brand, hence going back to the dresses. I knew what I wanted to do. I just couldn't find the product or the brand that I wanted. And through trial and error, really, I just sort of organically came to me. And I would say 2 years ago, we launched with our new brand. We threw everything else that we were doing off Amazon, even if it was generating us cash. I didn't want the, I wanted to be 100% focused on this new brand.
Back from the headspace and just focus your one thing, if you like.
Yeah, we dropped profitable ASINs. We dropped ASINs that were generating some cash. I needed to go for this in the way that I knew how, and that was all about creating a brand. So about 2 years ago, we launched the new brand in the toys and games category. And from then on, it's just grown organically and successfully ever since.
Cool. So where are you at with, in terms of marketing? You're a big proponent of chatbots and stuff. You've worked with Michele Smith as well, haven't you, in that sense? I think that's been a catalyst for some of your success as well. Do you want to go into that?
Yeah, that's been huge for us. So once we'd created the brand, we had a very strong idea of who our target market was. We knew our vision. We knew our core concept. I was at a training event and somebody mentioned, I explained that we had a really good following on Facebook, but it was taking up a lot of time to communicate with our fans on Facebook. And they said, the word ManyChat to me and said, don't have time to go into it now, but go home, research ManyChat. And this was probably about 2.5 years ago. So it was before anyone was talking about chatbots. And I literally did. I came back, I locked myself away for a week and I learned ManyChat. And really quickly appreciated how fundamental it was to have our own audience off of Amazon. We were really lucky that we had a strong following anyway. People were keen to engage with us. And I just knew instantly that this was something I had to learn and had to bring on. So I was working on it myself, realized after probably about 6 months that we needed to outsource this or learn from somebody who had more experience. I was so lucky I found Michele Smith, who had all the ManyChat experience. I had all of the Amazon experience, and together we work closely together to help to develop flows and things we can do on ManyChat that meet our objectives as an Amazon seller.
Yeah, and I know with you, you're like super compliant as well. So there's none of the nonsense as well, because you're growing. You've got a substantial business that you're growing now. Talk to me about with the kids concept as well. Like when I speak to people like in the baby niches, you normally get high sessions, low conversions, a lot of browsing and stuff. Obviously, people are committed to their children. It's a special thing when they're shopping. They're going to be hyper picky. How do you get around that yourself in terms of the products you sell?
Yeah, sure. So some of our products have very strong product keywords, so we can get our sales from the product keywords. But exactly as you said, when you're searching for a gift for a child or any product for a child, you're browsing. So our conversions generally sit around the 20%. Sometimes they can be up in the 30s, sometimes they can be lower because people are browsing. It gets easier the more your brand is developed and more presence you have for your brand, especially on the sort of browsing keywords that you can generate. So the conversions will increase the more confidence people have in your brand, the more visibility you have on it. On the headline ad, you have 6 products on that search term. You've got the product targeting ads. You've got it all going on the page. And that's where you can really help to increase those conversions and get the commitment from and the loyalty from the customers.
Sounds good. Talk to me about the that moment when you hit the 1 million mark for you, because I know that we'll talk more and more about this, but I wanted special recognition to you for this, because I think other than our friend Ash as well, who's doing tremendously well in the UK, like we've got a lot of 7-figure sellers, but there's 7-figure sellers and then there's 7-figure sellers. Like you guys are blind, right? Talk to me about getting to your first 1 million mark. What was that experience? How tough it was, etc.
Do you know what? Probably shouldn't say this, but I have never ever been focused on the money.
Yes, and that's good.
For the first 2 years, my accountants did my bookkeeping. They give me my management accounts. I was not focused on that at all. I was always just so driven by growing this brand, getting the next product out, getting the images where they needed to be, getting the social following. So when I achieved my first million, I almost didn't it didn't even recognize, it wasn't a benchmark that I put out for myself. I didn't have a little party and throw my hands in the air. All I thought was, great, how do we make the next million? It was just the money of it was just a benchmark to keep me going, but it really wasn't the biggest benchmark that I used. The biggest benchmarks that I use is how many SKUs I have, how many social, where we're ranked, what our conversion rates are. I'm driven much more by those type of things than finances. But of course, it's been to know that we've got the security now of going from a 1 million to a 5 million, and then from a 5 million to a 10 million. That is.
So if you don't mind sharing, have you hit 8 figures?
We are due to, by the end of this 2019.
Amazing.
The forecast is 8 figures.
So, because normally people talk about, it's really tough to make your first 1 million. Yep. It's easier to get to the second million, but it can be very tough. And the changes that are involved to get you from 2 to 10.
Oh, huge. Yeah.
Would you mind sharing something about that? Yeah.
So obviously the biggest factors for scaling up is always going to be, your capital. You need to have access to capital, no matter how profitable your products are and how healthy your ROI is. You can only grow at a certain rate if you're always reinvesting. You need to have access to outside capital from some source. So that's the biggest obstacle, especially when you're scaling so aggressively. And then also you've got the processes and procedures in place. You need to have a team around you to be able to get from the 1 million to the 5 million. You cannot, with the best will in the world and however much knowledge you hold in your own head, you cannot get there on your own. Mm-hmm. So that's a big challenge. And to be able to put those processes in place and the team in place takes a lot of time out of your day. So you almost have to take your foot off the pedal on the Amazon world and suddenly become an HR manager and get the training in place for that to enable you to grow up and to scale up. So I would say, the two biggest things for scaling is access to capital and building the team around you.
Yeah, and let's quickly talk about the team, because I like your approach. You've not gone the traditional, let's go get VAs from the Philippines, have you? You're getting mothers local. It's a different dynamic. So I've been changing that across my businesses as well. And I've used people from Pakistan. I've got my bookkeepers from the Philippines. He's brilliant. But when you've got that face-to-face communication, like across the different businesses, you need a different slant to it. And I think there are levels to the VA game, isn't there? And then it stops. Certain things that you need to do just can't, I believe, to be done with VAs. And I've gone, right, okay, it's now start to up the hourly rates now. Let's start using people that you communicate face-to-face on the same time zone and stuff like that. And that's made a big difference recently, even down to like my manager for the live, Seller Sessions Live, bring Kerry on board. That was a big master stroke. And then bringing on the construction business, bringing someone in on that side. And I've gone more and more that way. Can you talk to me about, you've gone this route completely. What's your process here?
Yeah, so don't get me wrong. When we were just starting out and we just didn't have the money, the sales weren't there, I was using VAs from the Philippines. That's what I was told to do, and that's what I did. And that would get me so far. But I'm a great believer in you get what you pay for. Yeah. And I'm also a great believer in, if you're going to have a team, then trying to keep it as close as you can. Using online conference calls is amazing. The stuff we can do with technology at the end of the day is crazy, and it's changed the whole way in which we work, and it can make businesses like ours possible. However, to have a face-to-face meeting with your team is just something you just need when you get to the level that we're at. So I quickly identified that, okay, in order to get the results I need and to take the pressure off myself, I needed to have people that I could rely on, that had the skills that I needed and that were close by. And I've been there. I've been a mum at home with young kids. I've come from a very successful background. I've got skills I can bring to the table, but I needed flexible hours. I needed a job that I could do from home that had flexibility. So I knew who I wanted to recruit. I wanted to recruit me. And I just tapped into that resource. So when I was building out my team, the most success I've ever had is because I'm a mum of kids and I have lots of mums on my Facebook group and at the school gates. The first thing I did was I put out an advert, whether it was for the marketing manager or whether it was for we call them marketplace managers. So we have a marketplace manager in all of our markets. So we have a girl that handles the UK, the US and Canada, all the English speaking markets. We have a marketplace manager. She's based in Spain and she handles Spain and France. We have a marketplace manager in Germany. She handles Germany and Italy. So I created the structure of how I thought it would work, and then I went about finding those people. And the way I found them and had the most success is by putting a post on my Facebook page that gets shared with other mums. And you wouldn't believe, there are so many skilled mums out there who are desperate. They want to do some work, but they've only got 4 hours a day or 5 hours a day between certain hours. They need flexibility. And they're willing to compromise, a lot of them, on their, the salaries that they could command previously to what they can command now. And we've had such great results, and we've got such a great team around us who are, at the end of the day, they're just so grateful for this type of position and this type of work, and they'll cling on to it, and they'll do a really great job for us.
Excellent. And how are you managing that in terms of day to day? Like how are meetings? Do you have group meetings? You do a Zoom call, or what do you do?
Yeah. So I've actually got 2 of our marketplace managers live in the south of Spain, and that's strategic because I have a home over there because I grew up in the south of Spain.
Yeah.
So it's a really good incentive. It means I get to go and see some sunshine and have face-to-face meetings with them. But on a daily basis, the systems we use Slack for just internal communications. We've recently jumped over to ClickUp. We used to use Trello, but thanks to some time spent with Lydon Smithers, he recommended ClickUp. It took a lot to get on board, but it's changed everything. So we all work online on the same platforms. We're in regular communication. We have weekly meetings as a whole, and then we have separate meetings with the staff as the days go on. So we're really connected physically and online as well.
Cool. And what's your goals for the future now? Like you've got to that stage, you've built the brand, you're building out successful a business now. You've got that footing, like we said earlier on, is that when you get to that stage where financially you're a bit more stable than the early rocky days. We know that Amazon itself can be a little bit rocky. Yeah. But what's your goals for the future? Where do you see yourself in the next couple of years? Are you going to sell the brands? Are you getting prepared to cash in? And because we know with Amazon sellers, you make the money the day that you sell your brand. So what's your goals?
Oh, it's certainly on my radar. However, I've got head down. I've got Q4 coming up. It's amazing how quickly that rolls around. We'll be placing our deposits for Q4 next month. So I am very much head down at the moment. Get through another Q4. Yes, the reason I would sell the brand is not because I don't love it, and I'm hugely proud of what we've created. It's again that capital need. Is always going to get more and more, and the risk gets higher and higher the bigger you become. So it's a case of almost taking it as far as I physically can and then selling it. Yes, for a financial gain, of course there's that, but more to the point that I realize as an entrepreneur, how far can I take this, and when's the sensible time to hand it over to somebody with deeper pockets and who has a larger strategic vision.
Yeah, and importantly, the business of your size, you can get to the stage where you can create generational wealth. It sets up your kids for the future and stuff, doesn't it? And absolutely. Because the thing is, you can add this business, you hit the 10, the magic number, but then your margins could be tiny, and then before you know it, a couple of years down the line, you could go, well, this is all well and good, but we're pulling like 60 grand a year, or something crazy where
you have to know when to sell. And we are speaking to people. We have a consultant that we work with. You've got to sell it when it's on a growth trajectory. You have to sell it when your growth year on year is still really climbing, and it can be easy to sell.
Sounds good.
Yeah, so that's the plan. Head down. Yes, selling is in the future. But again, people say, oh, well, you can just rinse and repeat. You can do this again. Yes, I've got the knowledge to do it again, but it takes an awful lot of, energy and focus to get to here. And also it's really hard to tap into another brand idea. It's not as easy as it sounds. Yeah.
You found the one thing, and then you get that feeling, that rhythm, and the timing. They're so important. So you might get to a point where you'll cash out, but you don't have the ideas to execute another one of these. Because I think a lot of things about business is about timing as well. And sometimes you just can't force these things,
No, exactly. It's something I'm always thinking about. I'm always mulling over. I think I've got an idea, and then I sit on it for a couple of months, and I find the flaws in the plan. So I'm sort of waiting almost for that inspiration to hit me for the second brand, and then I have to find the energy to actually see it through.
Cool. Is there anything you want to add before we go?
No, just really, for anyone that's in the position, they're listening to this and they're thinking, oh, that sounds great, but how do I get there? It has just been focus, commitment, dedication, and having the right people around me. When I first got into this, I knew nobody who was selling on Amazon, but by putting myself out there, attending events, doing networking like Seller Sessions Live, and a few others.
Well, we're gonna be off to Silicon in a couple of weeks, aren't we? There's going to be 3,000 Amazon sellers there, so I'm looking forward to that.
When I went there the first time, it was really hard for me. I stepped out of my comfort zone. I didn't know anybody. I left my family behind. I got on a plane to go to Vegas, and I was really nervous. I didn't know what I was going to find. And this time, I'm going to Silicon. I'm sharing a room with one of my, best friends, Alicia, who's from the States, and I've got a whole host of people around me that I now know. Yeah. Just through being in this industry, it's wonderful, and just getting out there and meeting people.
Cool, and you'll be able to meet some people in the UK as well. 1st of October, you're on one of my panels at Limworks, aren't you?
Yep, that's right. Yeah, there's such a it's really getting a huge community together in the UK. Thanks to yourself as well for making that happen. No longer do you have to travel over to the States to go and find these events. They're on our doorstep as well, and there's some really successful sellers here in the UK. Yeah,
it's growing. I'm really pleased our community start to grow. But let's leave that there. I'd love to get you back on and finish this story off in a few months' time or a few years' time, depends on where it lies. But thanks again for coming on. It's been a while. I've been wanting to get you on for a couple of years. I'm finally glad that we got you on. So thanks, Michele. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. I'll see you again in the next few days. Take care, Michele.
Okay, thanks.